Hi friends, Shannon here, Cards by Shannon Lee. I am a creative crew member for Katscrappiness. Today I'm going to do a clean and simple card using the Never Ending Squares. It's a very large, several square, just plain square dies, the Stitch Postage Edge Squares, and then the Autumn Lantern add-on. I've stamped this cluster here with this disappearing ink, and I'm going to do no line coloring, but this disappearing ink, you can use it to, if you want to, let's say I wanted to stamp these mushrooms and overlap this, this cluster, I could do that with this disappearing ink and then color the image and then use my heat tool to warm it up and the ink disappears. So it's no line coloring with the disappearing ink. I'll be right back and we'll get started. Today I'll be using Tombow, what are these called? Tombow water-based, they say ABT. Here's an example of one of their dual tip. One has a brush end, one has a nib end, just a pointy nib end. And then I'm using the N00, and this is just a clear ink, and that's what I'll be using to blend out my my colors to give it the no line look. I'm going to start with number 291, and I'm going to go around the outside of the entire image, and I'm doing this just to kind of highlight the image, not to this is not part of my no line coloring. This is just to give it kind of a shadow, give it a little bit of pow. And I'm going to speed this up. The reason I'm not doing this at the end is because I'm using red on the berries and on the maple leaves, and I don't want to pull that red into the shadow. So because they're water-based, when you use one of the colors and touch another color, it will blend it out into the area that you don't want it, and that is especially true with the red markers. Okay, and so this I'm not going to blend out with the 00, but next I'm using number 228, and the way that I do this no line coloring is very easy. Basically, I just outline the image, and then I use the water, or not the water, the clear, the N00 to blend it out. So I'm just going to go and outline this image. Anywhere that I want a lot of color, I'll do a more bold line. And I'll do several leaves at once before I blend it out. And because the ink is disappearing, let's say I didn't want this image, these two little bulbs to show up in my coloring, I could just use the heat tool and they would disappear, leaving the coloring behind. So if I just wanted to color everything but those two bulbs, when I'm finished, I could just hit it with the heat tool and those bulbs would disappear. But since I've already outlined them, I'm not going to do that. I should have considered that when when I decided to do this, but I didn't. I didn't think ahead, and now that I've outlined it, I kind of am stuck with having to color them. And so now with the 00 marker, the N00, just pulling that color into the white space, and there we have our no line look. And when you hear the term no line, it's referring to no black line. Like if you were to usually, when you're going to color an image, you would stamp it in black and then color the inside. But no line is referring to no black line. So I'm just going to speed this up, let you listen to some music while I finish coloring this image. So I have my card base in my stamping platform, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment from this stamp from the Autumn Lantern add-on, the Thankful, Grateful, and Blessed. I've already loaded that into my stamping platform. I'm just going to ink up with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. It's a pigment ink, which takes longer to dry than a dye ink. And I'm going to smoosh that down on my card base, and then I'm going to stamp it a couple more times so I make that sentiment nice and juicy, and we're going to heat emboss. I'll add some clear sparkle embossing powder, and we'll melt that embossing powder on the sentiment. There we go. I'm going to stick a scrap paper in there so I don't gunk up my stamping platform. I'll move that out of the way. Bring in my scratch paper here, my clear sparkle embossing powder, and sprinkle some embossing powder very generously over my sentiment. Get a little bit more on there. Okay, now I'm going to let my heat tool warm up a little bit, and then I'm going to open up my card base and melt it from the inside underneath. And what that does is it makes it melt less splotchy, at least in my opinion. Now I'm going to glue my colored panel onto my postage edge square, and then I'm going to add it to my card base, If I can get some glue out. There we go. Now we got some glue moving. I think I'm getting just about the end of this bottle. I'm gonna have to add some more. Okay, I'm going to center that onto my square postage edge die cut here. There we go. And then I'm just going to add it to the card front. I had to tape my card base closed just so that I wouldn't have a hard time lining it up, the square, onto my card base. Thank you so much for watching my video today. I would appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And if you're interested in purchasing any of the products that I use today in this video, there are links in the description box below. You can also sign up for the Cat Scrappiness newsletter, where every Friday Cat sends out a secret coupon code to all of her newsletter recipients. So here is our clean and simple fall card. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.